Welcome back, guys, to the T-SQL Toolbox course, beginner to intermediate, and hope you have your tea water ready to be rehydrated because we are going to get into something exciting today, and that's going to be ERD notation. Here we go. ERD standing for Entity Relationship Diagram. Okay, so in this lecture, we're going to go over the purpose. What is the purpose of having an ERD software? Theory, just a bit of basic theory to get you off the ground, build some foundation, and we're going to jump into a live example. So the purpose of having an ERD software is it's basically the visual language of databases. Things are easier if we can visualize them. We're able to establish relationships between entities, which we'll go through a little bit later. You're able to think like a database designer by having the overlay in front of you. And for the purposes of this course, we're only going to have a simple overview of ERD theory. It's not going to be too complex because it can get quite ambiguous and complicated. So we're going to keep it at a high level view. Okay, so cardinality. So this is an important idea to internalize. And as you can see here, the type, the description, and the example. And you can have three types: one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. Please note I've highlighted many-to-many in orange because it's not a relationship that you want to see all too common. It's a relationship that you can break down into a smaller relationship. So a great example to internalize of a many-to-many relationship would be many soccer players belonging to many organizations. For example, a soccer player may belong to a FIFA organization, or they may belong to some sort of different organization. And this is what we call a many-to-many relationship. If we want to try and split up that many-to-many relationship, what you need to do is you need to create an extra entity. So many soccer players belong to a team, or in other words, they belong to one team, and a team can belong to many organizations. So it may make sense in subsequent lectures, or it may make sense now, but effectively you want to try and mitigate your many-to-many relationships, and you want to, when you can, you want to break them down into smaller to manage relationships when you're designing databases. Okay, now we're going to learn about some ERD notation. This is just a basic high-level view of what you're going to be used to making database diagrams. So student likes course, and we can see here that the inside symbol denotes the maximum cardinality. So this can be either one or many. So if we remember the previous slide, cardinality, we can have a one-to-one, a one-to-many, or a many-to-many. And if we take that knowledge and apply it to this diagram, we can see that this is a many-to-many relationship. So many students can like many courses. That's how that reads. So that's so back to what I was saying, which was the inside symbol. So the outside symbol is the minimum cardinality, can either be 0 or 1. So the way that reads is it would be many students, and it requires at least one student by minimum. So it needs to have at least one student, this relationship. That's how that reads effectively. So that's the title of the relationship. This is the entity, and we can see here the primary key, the course number, which is underlined, and the foreign key, which is not underlined, and it's associated to the student entity. Now, don't worry if this is not sinking in, or you're a bit overwhelmed at the moment. We're going to do a practical. We're going to jump into the ER assistant, which things will start to make sense once we get our hands dirty. So let's jump into that now. So here we are. We're in the ER assistant tool, and this is quite a simple interface. We're going to just build something very, very simple. So here we go. Insert an entity. You can follow along if you like. So let's make it student. And then if we want to define the attributes of student, we can do so. So let's make that to student number. Let's make this the primary key. And data type, we'll learn about data types in the subsequent lecture. But for now, for argument's sake, let's make it a varchar and we'll put it at 20 for the length. Now I'm going to define more of these entities. So it's pretty I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The user interface is pretty easy. Have a play around with it. I'm going to define some more attributes in the meantime. Okay, so I've created the student entity. Now we're going to create another entity and just wait till the end and it'll display visually. So for now, we're going to go new. We'll make a course. Don't need to worry about super type or regular or weak. These are additional details that we don't need to be concerned with right now. So we'll go on attributes and I'm going to define a few attributes for the course. Okay, so now we've defined both entities, so course and student. Okay, so I've got my two entities now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to join them with a relationship. So what you want to do is you want to click on this connect mode up the top, join like that, bingo bango. Then click on back onto the select and click on relationship 1. And this may look a little bit overwhelming if you're not used to it, but just bear with me. So what we want is back to the example, which is many students. So we need many, and it must be mandatory. And we want many students likes many courses. So we'll see that attribute. So there we go. We've got the crow's feet there. That's the slang word, if you like, for that. The dotted line, a solid line denotes I believe a weak entity type, but it's not covered in this course, and we're not going to go into that depth. I think you should just have a high-level view of ERD notation. This is about as complex as it gets in regarding ERD notation. So if you can master this, you can effectively, it's great if you can understand this in this short amount of time. In the assignment, I'll get you to build up some of your own and we'll compare to my answers. Feel free to re-watch this part of the lecture if you want to practice and build your own little use cases. Maybe you can create your own little database and start playing around and actually visualizing the relationships, or even playing around with the software. So thanks for listening, guys. This has been lecture number 6, ERD notation, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.